So guys, Errol Spence must be gutted that it looks like Pacquiao was going to fight Keith Thurman. Now, Errol Spence was gunning for the Pacquiao fight, and it looks like Manny Pacquiao is going to ditch Errol Spence and fight Keith Thurman. And obviously, Manny Pacquiao got into the ring after Spence's last fight and said, let's get it on. Spence said to Pacquiao, let's get it on. And it looked like that was the, logical next fight. But it looks like Pacquiao's probably going to go down the Keith Thurman route. And Spence must be gutted because Spence has been somebody that people think that has been avoided. Everybody talks about fighting him, but nobody wants to go near him. I do think Spence, off that win against Garcia, his profile has definitely increased. But again, I made a video about this, that I don't think it makes sense for Pacquiao right now to fight Spence. But Spence must be gutted because he must be looking at it that I bring a lot more to the table than Keith Thurman right now. And Pacquiao decided to fight Keith Thurman. And the reason why, I think Pacquiao looks at Keith Thurman and looks at him as more vulnerable. Spence is not vulnerable. Spence is a hard fight. Pacquiao looks at Spence as a very hard fight, where I don't think he looks at Thurman as a very hard fight. Don't get me wrong, it's still tough, but it's not as hard as Spence. Spence is a very dangerous fight right now. Spence has got the momentum, and Spence, you could probably say, is the best welterweight in the world right now. You know, the way he's fighting, the way he's performing, you have to say that Spence is probably the top guy in the welterweight division. So you have to give Spence his just due. But I can understand Spence must be gutted right now because Spence wanted that big money fight with Pacquiao. And someone like Keith Thurman, in my opinion, is probably going to get the fight. And Keith Thurman's not been active. He fought a last fight against Lopez, looked terrible, almost was stopped. And now he's going to get a big payday with Pacquiao. And you've got someone like Spence who went over to England, beat Kell Brook. Then obviously beat Lamont Peterson, beat Ocampo. Don't get me wrong, Spence's resume is not great. And then beat Mikey Garcia again. But the problem is, Errol Spence has been calling out Keith Thurman. Errol Spence has been calling out Sean Porter. It's those guys that have been reluctant to get in the ring with him. Now Sean Porter is showing a lot of energy to get in the ring with Errol Spence, which he wasn't before. So it's not Errol Spence's fault that his resume is weak. So that's why I don't give Errol Spence that much credit. Although his resume isn't great, but Errol Spence wants to fight all of these guys. It's these guys that are reluctant to face Errol Spence. Now, the only guy that has shown that he wants to fight Errol Spence is Terence Crawford. And that fight looks like it's going to be impossible to make. Obviously, Terence Crawford, I don't want Terence Crawford. The thing is, I don't even want to talk about Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, because Terence Crawford's got a very hard fight in Amir Khan. And I don't know whether he gets through that. So again, I just think that with Errol Spence is trying to fight all of these top guys. It's these top guys that have made excuses with him. So, I feel sorry for him. So I felt like I even made a video a time back and I said Errol Spence deserves a fight with Pacquiao and more than Keith Thurman. But I just think Pacquiao looks at Keith Thurman as more vulnerable and an easier fight and a big payday. And, Pacquiao will probably get paid the same amount of money for fighting both guys, but there's a greater chance that he beats Thurman, and there's a lot of people would have him a big underdog against Spence. So you can understand why at this stage in his career, and I made a video about this, that Pacquiao's got to make the right moves, because a wrong move could be his last move. At the age he is, a loss and a devastating loss now, he wouldn't be able to come back from it. So, like I said, Pacquiao's in a stage in his career where all the moves have to be spot on. Otherwise it could be his last one. So you can't blame him. So Spence, I feel sorry for him. I genuinely do, because Spence deserves these big fights. Spence is a unique and great fighter, great talent. But it seems like a lot of guys are quite reluctant from, the PBC fighters. They're a lot reluctant to get in with him. And I think Sean Porter now will probably be the next fight for Errol Spence. I think Sean Porter is showing that he wants to fight Errol Spence. And I do think that's genuine. I do think that fight will happen. And I expect Errol Spence to do the job on Porter and become a unified champion. Then all of a sudden, Errol Spence becomes even more appealing because now he's a unified champ. So that would make a lot of sense for guys to want to fight him then. you know, then the Pacquiao-Thurman fight becomes more realistic for him, because he would be holding more than one belt. So leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think. Do you feel sorry for Errol Spence? Do you think you feel gutted that, you know, Pacquiao's going to fight Thurman? Leave your thoughts, guys. And guys, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video.